Well, hello and good afternoon, Xbox Nation. Welcome to today's brand new episode of the Xbox Factor podcast. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Boomstick XL, and we have an outstanding show prepared for you here today. We're down two members right now, but I think one should be here momentarily. Zemi Games, Zemi the Brave, as you may know him, had to take off today because he's doing some family stuff, and he also, while training for Halo Master Chief, might have sprained his trigger finger. Joe, we may have to carry him in our match against Green Pass Gaming this Saturday at 3:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But you know what? Let's get into the rest of the introductions. I think that our good friend Boxer Bear, who he's known for right now.
This video is so distracting, Boom. I'm sorry.
It is distracting. See, that's the human llama guy. This is footage from the llama killing game that.
It looks like as you're talking, the guy is also talking.
Yeah, but we do have a guest with us, so we'll get to him in a second. We actually have a developer who has something to talk about with the ID tech and whether or not that is the true exclusive for this deal, Joe. But let's get into the introduction. Joe, we'll start with you. You dropped an incredible new episode of the Trophy Room today. Welcome to the program. Thanks for being here, brother. And how you been?
Dude, I'm doing pretty damn good. And yeah, we dropped a new episode just today. Really fun talking PlayStation, especially when there's stuff to actually talk about. So, but now listen, I got my Xbox wireless headset, so nice. I'm here to talk Xbox right now.
Yes, you are.
I mean, so I'm doing good. I'm only here for a little bit, but you know what? I'm here to talk all the greatest while I'm here.
Well, listen, the game that you see in front of you is called Vala, and obviously it's about shooting llamas. It's currently available for free if you are an Xbox Gold subscriber. It's one of the games. It's a top-down co-op twin-stick shooter, and quite frankly, it is hilarious. It's also extremely gory. If you have a problem with killing llamas, then this game is not for you. You'll see momentarily as they drop me in hot as I pilot this mech that looks kind of like something with four legs and just a lot of guns. You'll see that momentarily. But let's get into the rest of the introductions. VJ, one of the most well-spoken, well-thought individuals on this program. Welcome back, bro. How you doing?
Morning, Boom. Morning, everyone. I'm having a rare cup of coffee today, Boom, as I've not had a very good night of sleep. So apologies in advance if I come across a little non-compass mentis today. Not in the right frame of mind, but I'll do my best.
Oh, I don't doubt it. That is for sure. But let's get into the next introduction. You know him as someone that may know a thing or three about the MCU. He's also someone in the business currently of developing content on a regular basis. Please welcome back to the show, 3-Bit. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good, Boom. It's a good week for Xbox. It is constantly just churning out news. It's awesome to see Kirby here because while I know things on the animation side and I've worked with some developers, Kirby, he is genius when it comes to like tech. So I'm really excited what he has to say with some of the tech, and it's gonna be a great show. So let's get started.
Well, yeah, thanks so much for being here, brother. Definitely appreciate it. And, listen, yeah, you know what? Speaking of guests, we have someone here today that I asked to be here specifically because just yesterday, he happened to be talking about some of the collaborations he believes is going to be happening with the ID tech. Now, the ID tech, if you don't know, is what runs Doom Eternal. It is a very powerful engine. And now that Microsoft is the owner of Bethesda, and of course with that comes all of these extra bells and whistles with the engines. I think, and I believe Kirby thinks, that we could see some collaborations with first party using said ID tech, but we're going to get into that in a second. Kirby, welcome to the program, brother. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. I hope my mic's working.
You sound good.
I had a little trouble there. For some reason the Xbox headset doesn't like to play nice with my PC right now.
You know something? Joe was just saying that. He was saying that he was having trouble connecting.
You're coming in a little bit loud, but don't worry about it.
All right.
If you can fix it, go for it. But if you can't, don't even worry about it. Because I'm having the same issues. If it's a new wireless one, a little bit of trouble getting that up and running on PC. Sorry, take it away.
Yeah, no. I mean, obviously, listen, we're here to speak to truth, and obviously, if it's been getting good reviews. Not sure if that's going to need an update of some sorts to get to work on the PC, but from what we understand from many people that have reviewed it working on the Xbox Series X and S, it's flawless. It literally connects automatically, and everyone's enjoying it. Mine is on the way. You might actually hear. Because I'm still, unlike the kind of funny guys who have a studio, one day maybe Boom will, you're going to probably hear UPS ring the bell. And if they do, well, folks, listen, here's the thing. I have to answer the door, so someone on this panel will take over for me while I run to get my new headset because I've been waiting and I can't, obviously want to get that and do my review for a Constant Gamer website, which I'm going to be doing later on. But as you can see, again, from the footage, this game is gory and you're killing lots of llamas. I see, Joe, you're mesmerized by the violence. I can tell. But you know what? We are waiting for Archimedes. Hopefully he'll get here. I think there might have been a misunderstanding or confusion with the time change that here in the US we had. I don't know if they've had it yet in the UK, but we'll get it all sorted out. But
Yeah,
what I want
to in 30 minutes.
Okay, so there you go. Thank you. Mm-hmm. I do want to open up with a little bit of bites and bits, if you will. And something happened the other day. I don't know. I think Monday something happened with Xbox. I think that was kind of big. Not only did we get the announcement of Outriders being put into Game Pass day and date, which is incredible. We got word that Octopath Traveler the next day was going to be brought to the service. That was obviously an exclusive to the Nintendo Switch and PC, currently still $60. But something happened on Wednesday that kind of got me excited, kind of got the panel excited. And I think a lot of people were running with rabid speculations. Now, Square Enix took to Twitter and they screen capped all of the games coming to Xbox Game Pass this week. And what they simply typed in is 7 pairs of emoji eyeballs. Now on the surface, we ask, well, what does this mean? What could they be implying? Well, of course, because I like to take a trip down Speculation Town every now and again. Taking the bus through there. It's a nice place to hang out. Many people in the community, and I was definitely one of them, believe that this was an assumption, a suggestion, a possibility, a Hail Mary, whatever you want to call it, that the long-awaited Final Fantasy VII Remake is not only dropping soon for Xbox, because as you know, PlayStation had the 1-year exclusive, but it's dropping into Xbox Game Pass day and date of its release. Now, Joe, I'll start with you. Am I looking too much into this, or am I onto something?
No, I think they definitely did that on purpose. So yeah, no, that's a PR thing if I've ever seen it in my life. And if it isn't, then someone take my communications degree away from me, because 7 pair of eyeballs, that you might say, well, technically, I mean, it's 14. No. I don't believe that for 1 second. I want my Xbox friends to experience Final Fantasy VII Remake. And whether it's on Game Pass or not, yeah, it only makes sense that this comes to Xbox. I would not be surprised, though, that Intergrade, like the next gen version, isn't like, it's exclusive for whatever bullshit PlayStation does. So like I bet it's just like the Xbox One version and not series, but nonetheless, whatever it is, I'm really happy because that game looks beautiful. Whether it's like the one or series like HDified version, both of them are gonna look and run great. So yeah, I think this is a thing.
Yeah, and I agree. I think not only do I agree with you, it's weird because obviously Sony has been pushing the new story with Tifa, right? There's been some notifications about the upgrade for the PlayStation 5 version of it. Would it surprise me if that particular version stayed PlayStation 5? I actually would be a little surprised, but potentially disappointed, simply because, wow, I mean, you're gonna keep the next gen version behind a paywall, or behind a deal. Again, Who knows what the deal is? We're going to know momentarily. And again, we don't even know if it's true. Right now, we're simply deducting, based on what has dropped. Obviously, there seems to be some sort of goodwill going on with Square Enix and Microsoft. So who knows at this point, Joe? But you do make a lot of sense. Let's get a 3-Bit's opinion on this. 3-Bit, are we crazy, or do you think Final Fantasy VII is going to be the next big Square Enix title to be announced?
I think you guys could keep Bad Bit's degree. I do think it has something. There's something going on there. And interestingly enough, today is supposed to be the Avengers Next Gen update.
Yes.
And all these Square Enix games are currently on sale right now.
100 gigs for that Xbox upgrade.
Ooh, that's gonna hurt a little bit. But yeah, it's almost been a year or so since Final Fantasy VII. So I maybe even longer than that. I think, yeah, I think it makes sense. The 7 emojis can be referencing like Final Fantasy VII. But I think you said it was 7, right?
Seven pairs of eyeballs.
Oh,
that
yeah.
was it. It was nothing, no words, just eyeballs.
Yeah, I think that can be referencing Final Fantasy VII for sure. I think it's good timing to put a bunch of your Final Fantasy games on sale to get people invested into the Final Fantasy games, especially on the Xbox, right? Where it's going to be brand new for them, and then later show them like, hey, here's Final Fantasy VII. It was a PlayStation exclusive. Now it's on here, and that's just good marketing.
Yeah.
So, I do think it's possible.
Well, I mean, listen, there's no doubt about it that this is a big game. Whether you are a Final Fantasy VII for me is my favorite of all of the Final Fantasy that they've released. I tried 8, not a big fan. 9, I know a lot of people love 10. 7 is where it's at. The remake, I didn't finish it. I got about maybe a quarter through it, and then of course I just started playing something else. I will definitely be looking forward to playing this. I would like to believe that, of course, if there is a next gen version available, that I would be able to play that version. But I think Joe's right when he says that on its own merits, Final Fantasy VII Remake looks fantastic with a next gen upgrade or otherwise.
Also, just breaking news, so everybody here knows, probably in the chat, they've been yelling, I don't know. Xbox indie event March 26th, more than 25 indie games, including Stalker 2 and more. New indie games coming to Game Pass as well.
Nice. Well, that's fantastic news, and something, we'll get into that, because Stalker 2, folks, is not only huge on the PC. I don't know if we've ever had a Stalker on consoles, right? I don't think we've ever had one. And based on that trailer that they put a couple of months ago, it looked fantastic. I mean, it looked really, really good. And I honestly, what's going to be great about this? I hope that with this over 25 games that we're going to be seeing, we get a couple of release dates, or or some,
like day and date. It's here right now.
Let us know when
Hades. Give me Hades or give me Death,
dude,
man.
Yeah,
Jesus,
Hades.
everybody's
I'm playing that currently on the Switch.
Yeah,
great, fantastic game.
Fantastic. Just font so small.
Yeah,
so
the font is small. It is.
Put that on the TV.
Absolutely. But Kirby, let's get your opinion on this, brother. Kirby, listen, you're here for the development aspect of this conversation, which we're gonna start talking in a bit. We're just waiting for everyone to kind of file in. Are you a Final Fantasy fan, and would this be a big deal for Xbox Game Pass? Another reason why to subscribe to the service.
So I have tried the Super Nintendo Final Fantasies, and I definitely liked those. I mean, I've played some Final Fantasy VII a little through emulation. I wasn't like the biggest fan in the world of it, just because of the kind of dated 3D graphics, compared to the older kind of refined 2D ones. But I mean, it was. I mean, I'm still looking forward to at least, giving the remake a chance.
Okay.
So, and I think it'll be great if it comes into Game Pass. as we just saw, what was it, over the last couple of days, more and more developers are coming out and saying, no, Game Pass is great. It makes us a ton of money, lets us do all this stuff, and increases, what's it called? Not interactivity, but
Well, I mean, obviously, it gets eyes to the game for sure.
right. It gets the game more attention, and that is a good thing for the developers. So I'm all for it coming to Game Pass if it happens.
Yeah, you know what? Again, fingers crossed, because obviously, when you get, listen, if I were to tweet Seven Eyeballs because I might have heard something, you say, yeah, that guy's a fraud. I don't believe him for a second. But when Square Enix does it, you got to scratch your head and you got to, pull the pin and pray, so to speak. VJ, let's get your opinion on this. You are someone that worked in retail, so you understand what it takes to drive excitement towards a product.
Yeah.
Xbox right now has been the hottest thing since sliced bread that you pulled out of the oven for sure. And they've added some big Square Enix games. Now, when I say big, I don't necessarily mean AAA budgeted. I'm talking about, Outriders is that's a big get. I don't care what anyone says, whether you fancy the game or you don't, it's a big get. It's one of the biggest games to release in 2021. That's a multi-plat. And then, of course, we get the news on Tuesday that Octopath Traveler, which, by the way, if you're an old school JRPG fan and you've been waiting for a game like this so you can spend, drop 40, 50, 60, 70 hours into a game, this is for you. It's phenomenal. I have it for the Switch. Like I said, it's still a $60 game anywhere you go, which is bananas. Again, coming to Game Pass day and date when it launches on consoles. Now we have Suspicion, and of course, a lot of it is theory-based. For you, is this another exclamation point to Game Pass being the greatest thing since sliced bread if Final Fantasy VII drops?
I know we're speculating here. So just so you know my position as a fan on Final Fantasy, I've played most of them, and I've played a few of them in Japanese because I just couldn't wait for the Western launch. And I've lost count of how many times on various different podcasts over the last several months that I've been pining and requesting for Final Fantasy VII Remake and even Judgment from Sega, for that matter, to appear in Game Pass. And I, for one, will be very pleased to see if Final Fantasy VII Remake in Game Pass, arrives on April 12th. I'm really disappointed that Freebit didn't know the original release day. I'm going to have a word with him after the show. But yeah, as I say, I'll be more than pleased if it arrives in Game Pass, and more so if the panel actually experience at least some of this fantastic game. And I know you have, Boom. The creativity alone that lies within the game that has to be experienced, I believe, and by and it hasn't been done so, right, by an adequate enough number of gamers from a selfish point of view, of course. So, but for me, in Final Fantasy VII Remake, it really did show me glimpses of what SquareSoft was like when they were at their absolute best in the past. For me at least. So I've got high hopes for Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2 whenever that drops. But I think the telling thing here, Boom, is that perhaps Sony offering Final Fantasy VII Remake to its PlayStation Plus members this month is a way of heading off yet another strategic, classy, shrewd, subtle, whatever you want to call it, right? And a passive and not an aggressive, Americanized way to illustrate the benefits of Game Pass. A strategy and a blueprint and an approach I have been talking about on various shows for at least 6 months, sometimes to no avail, and for certainly until I'm blue in the face. And we won't go into all of that, because everyone's got a varied opinion on that. But I'm hoping that come April 12th, Xbox announce its inclusion in Game Pass with a patch, next-gen enhancements, overcoming the issues that plagued the PS4 version. Again, listening to what you guys are saying and from what has been announced, I'm not sure if those enhancements are more likely to come in June, along with the PS5's, increase in. I think it's going to be in June, right, when they have a better.
I believe so. Yeah, it's in the summer.
Textures and frame rate enhancements. But then again, I'm not technical enough here to sort of really answer this. But perhaps, with the architecture within the Series X, perhaps does give it a boost in some shape, way, or form without those enhancements. I don't know. Let's wait and see, and let's hope. I know we're speculating here, so I know I'm sort of I've already like signed the deal off, or so to speak, but I don't see a reason as to why this deal can't be completed or done, or a solution found, if indeed Game Pass wants to be a shining light example and the peak of perfection, I would say, amongst its rivals, and those that will, that I'm not saying today, but that will eventually emerge. And I'm not just talking about Sony and Nintendo. I've been looking around, and I think there's a couple of others plotting and planning, but perhaps that's for another podcast. If it happens, Final Fantasy VII Remake will, I think, greatly entice a new subscriber base, and it's purely from a selfish inward looking perspective anyway. And I know it's speculation, but I've actually really enjoyed this topic. So thanks very much, Boom.
No, definitely, no problem. Listen, first of all, let me just grab 2 new channel members, which is awesome. Ra89 becomes a channel member. Ra, thanks not only for being here, brother, but for supporting Double Barrel Gaming. And we had just one pop in just a second ago, Jonathan Lopez. What's up, dude? Welcome to Here Comes the Boom. Definitely want to say thank you for looking to support Double Barrel Gaming. And I just want to kind of just segue into something. I obviously have a Patreon as well. And I'm going to be honest with you, folks. I have about 22 or 23 people that subscribe to Patreon, and of course, I've been doing it for about a year and a half or 2 years. And I just want people to. I want to put this out there. I'm going to message everyone privately, give you the heads up, but I'm going to be shutting down the Patreon. And the reason why I'm shutting it down is because with 4 shows that I produce weekly, I'm finding it harder and harder to be able to pay attention to Patreon and offer something special for the members outside of just digital gift cards is what we've been offering. So what I'm going to do is at the end of the month, I'm going to shut it down. And if you still want to support Double Barrel Gaming, I added a second tier to membership. It's a $5 and a $10. So if you want to redirect your support to Double Barrel Gaming, it's much easier for me as a content creator who produces 4 live shows weekly, sometimes 5. Like this week was 5 live shows, to be able to focus on the tools that are available for me through YouTube, as opposed to me not paying attention. Because the last thing I want anyone to think is, oh, I'm just collecting money for the F of it, because that's not in fact the case. But obviously when I can have everything in one location, it's much easier to work and get contests and get giveaways going from one location, not having to pay attention to 2 different locations. So I'm going to be shutting it down in hopes that the people that are there supporting me in Patreon will then obviously redirect that to potentially supporting me here on just, chat through channel membership. So I want to thank everybody for that. But I do want to move on to the topic, and this topic is the reason why I asked Kirby Louise to be here. With this big Bethesda deal, right? It's easy to get lost in how many studios they have, right? They got 8 new studios, right? And it's also easy to get lost in, well, it's Fallout and it's all these IPs that we love. It's Doom, it's Dishonored, it's Prey. We have the Elder Scrolls. But sometimes, and I obviously am to blame for this as well, we only look at these deals from the surface level, right? Like immediately the flashing light, that grabs our attention. But there's something that I wanted to bring up in a conversation, and when I wrote the show notes, it was really just a very simple question, and I have to immediately go to Kirby Louise, because if you don't know his history, he is someone that is developing some engines for both the Xbox and the Switch. And who better to get information on what the ID tech is and what it can actually do for the Xbox moving forward and their first party. So Kirby, to keep this short and sweet in regards to the questioning, has Doom Eternal's ID tech become the real exclusive for Xbox moving forward? And will first party take advantage of this incredible tech? And could it be a game changer for all of the Xbox first party titles?
So I definitely think that it is one of the big gets from the Bethesda acquisition. id Tech has had a long history of how do I put this? Bringing industry leading technologies in terms of all aspects of a game engine, between rendering, performance, features, physics, etc., etc. And and it currently still is, as it is one of the top tier DX12 and Vulkan, which are the two best Windows and console graphics APIs on the market. What was I going to say? It could, some of the technology that is used in it could be shared between other Xbox game studios to help improve what they have in their engines or their port of Unreal or whatever they're using to develop their games with. And that is really a big win for Microsoft, because I mean, have you like Doom Eternal is like I think it's like the single AAA game that actually is capable of fulfilling NVIDIA's claims that the RTX 3090 can game at 8K at 60 frames per second, because it's so well optimized. Like everything else isn't even close, but nope, Doom Eternal can do 8K on the 3090 and also the 6900 XT, as discovered by Linus Tech Tips. So it is definitely one of the best engines out there, and if they can leverage that technology as well as improve upon it and say id Tech 8 with full DirectX 12 Ultimate support, DLSS2, AMD Fidelity FX Super Resolution, DirectML, Velocity Architecture, all the great features that are built into the next-gen PC and console architectures, then we're going to have some pretty nice running and looking games in the future.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty interesting. Again, because I can bring up the footage of what I have recorded for Doom Eternal, and it just looks like a complete masterpiece running on the X. And to think that the speed and the graphics and everything that goes along with the ID Tech could potentially find its way to for a Microsoft first party is super, super exciting. But let me ask you this: if you had a choice of using the ID Tech or Unreal Engine 5, which one would you go with?
I would probably. I mean, well, first I would probably pick my own engine. But if I had to yeah, Void 2D and Void 3D for the win. But if I had to pick between those two, honestly, it would probably be down to which one supports the features I want or need, which I think at this point is most likely Unreal 5. It's just a little, because id Tech 7 it's a much older, it started development, and then we had a release game with it on Doom Eternal in 2020, whereas Unreal 5 isn't even out yet. It's scheduled for 2021 with Fortnite, I believe, is its launch game, and then Hellblade 2 is going to use it. In Exiles, whatever game is going to use it, and I think a couple others. Obviously, Coalition's going to probably use it for Year 6. But it's simply because it was created at a later date. It's going Unreal 5 would most likely have the features that I am interested in over id Tech 7. A theoretical id Tech 8, like I said, that's unknown, but I would probably go with Unreal 5 thanks to nanite mesh shading, sampler feedback support, as NVIDIA and Epic have demoed together. What else? They'll probably start supporting direct storage, velocity architecture soon. So yeah, that would be my pick between id Tech or Unreal 5.
I mean, are they currently working on the ID Tech 8?
I mean, I would have to assume they are.
Yeah.
They're always improving. But, I mean, when I said ID Tech 8, it's just I added one to it. It's just a theoretical whatever id Software's next engine is, and I would hope it would have the whole 9 yards in terms of DX12 Ultimate and Velocity and DLSS and etc. support.
Okay. Well, I mean, obviously, listen, you work with the engines. You know, you're working on your own engine, so you really do know the technical talk. Joe, for you, is Joe? Yeah, Mr. Oh, he stepped away for a second. Let's get a 3-bit. 3-bit, are you there?
I am here.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the question of the day? It has Doom Eternal's engine become the real exclusive for Xbox?
I think the engine ID Tech is one of my favorite engines out there. It's like Kirby was saying, it's one of the best DX12 Vulkan type engines on the market. The next proprietary engine iteration of id Tech 8, I can see them using some of the new features that are in the newer consoles. They always are consistently improving these things. They never stop. If people think that like Epic is going to stop with Unreal Engine 5.
No, I doubt it.
It's not, even though it's not out yet, right? We can just pretty much assume they're going to keep improving this thing. But yeah, I believe the next iteration of using ID Tech will be an ID Tech game. I don't think other studios will use it right away. I'd say most likely the next Doom installment, or maybe ID Tech is working on reinventing another franchise like Quake again or something like that. But considering Microsoft loves to share their technology between studios, I know at least one other studio is looking at ID Tech's engine and is salivating, wanting to use this thing. and I can't I can't imagine another genre within the engine right now, at least. A lot of what ID Tech uses is a lot of the games using it anyways is first person. So I would love to see what they can do with the engine like a third person game, and see how much they can push it from that, even though it's just changing the camera, right? But I think I do think it's the true exclusive. And to answer your question, I do think there's a lot of amazing technology that did come with the ZeniMax deal. We know about the Orion cloud technology, right? That came with the deal with ZeniMax, which is pretty much a patented cloud streaming SDK that allows gaming to run at like these max settings, but with minimal bandwidth usage. And so I believe that will also push xCloud services even further, not to mention that on top of ID Tech, which is already such a extremely well optimized engine. And the scalability of these games are going to be insane when they pair up all of these different studios working together. It's going to be amazing. I would love to see 343 really invest into the ID Tech engine at some point, or I don't know. I would just love to see a Halo in ID Tech. That's just a dream of mine. And yeah, it looks like a great engine for sure.
Yeah.
So I was just going to mention about id Tech being used for other genres than like first-person shooters or first-person games in general.
Right.
Sometime back, I mean, I don't exactly remember the details, but some PC players were using Cheat Engine or some other debugging or memory mod program to force Doom Eternal into a third-person mode, and it works. And it looks a little strange, like when you're doing like the glory kills, because those are intended to be like up close, like gory first-person moves. But otherwise, it works pretty well, actually. Yeah. So that was impressive that there's a unused kind of third-person mode built in. So it's definitely possible.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Wow, third-person Doom. I've been saying for years I'd love a third-person Halo. I know I might get booed in the chat by that, but I would love at least to try Halo, at least a side story in third person for sure. Real quick, Trapline in the chat drops a very generous $5 super chat and says, Google's Elder Scrolls Legends, story-based card game by Bethesda, perfect for Xbox Game Pass. In fact, he says it's a hidden gem that never got a shot. Sounds interesting for sure. But listen, folks, as we close in on 450 people already here, what we're going to do as soon as we're done talking about the id Tech, because I was corrected in the chat. I said ID Tech. I really should have been calling it id Tech, but does it really matter? Not really. But you know what? Thanks for the correction. As soon as we're done talking about this, I'm going to pivot to the breaking news because I have the story in front of me. Normally, I won't do that because I like writing my own topics, but I'll read verbatim what Xbox Wire is saying because what they're saying has me excited because of the games that are going to be there. And what's even more interesting is that we're probably going to get release dates for every one of these games, which is dope. But Joe, are you back, sir? All right, Joe is not back yet. Yeah. All right, so VJ, let's get Joe. Oh, Joe he said he was going to be here for 40 minutes. He dropped out. Okay, so you know what, VJ, let's get your opinion on this. You know, obviously the id Tech is a big deal. It has been a big deal for Bethesda and Doom for years. And now Microsoft is going to be, they're not only the owners of it, but they are in a position where some of their first-party games could take advantage. Now, I don't necessarily know if we'd see this tech move to Halo, let's say, for whatever happens in Halo Infinite after what we're getting this November, simply because they're working on the Slipspace engine. So I don't know if that would be the case, but do you think that this could be viewed upon as one of the real exclusives for Xbox?
Permission to speak extensively?
Please, by all means, go crazy.
Okay, so I don't profess to be as knowledgeable as our guest Kirby and our illustrious panel members in 3-Bit and Box and Bear when he actually decides to turn up. so I'll try to marshal my thoughts. And remember, this is like just general critical and observational thinking on my part. You know, none of this is fact, but it was very interesting to listening to 3-Bit and to Kirby. So look, from my experience, when you're developing a project, the coding team have to be frugal, prudent, and logical when weighing up the sort of pros and cons, and they have to do it very carefully before deciding which commercial engine or internal engine, for that matter, if they're that blessed, to employ, or if something custom is required. The ID Tech, and Kirby's already said it, right, is incredibly specific and proprietary. And the couple of games that I've seen it being used for, I think Machine Games used it for one of the Youngblood or Wolfenstein games. And it's generally geared towards aggressive action, sort of first-person shooter titles from what I can glean. I'm not a huge fan of Doom, but I've played it a little bit, right? So, I mean, it could take an internal team ID software alone 6 months to a year, right, to get up to speed with a revised version of ID Tech game engine, and even longer to become fluent and optimum with it, right? That's why sometimes development periods are so long for certain specific games. Again, it all depends on a studio's individual project, the requirements of said project, and how they want to invest their budget, and more so, I would say, is the resource in terms of manpower, how to deploy that, and ultimately the time that's being given to a title, because it has to hit a release date, right? And sometimes publishers will throw money at it, right, in order to hit a certain window. I would just mentioned Machine Games, because obviously with the Bethesda sort of deal being cemented, I've just been looking through all of their studios and so on and so forth and what they're up to. So and I was noticed that Machine Games and Arcane have kind of sort of utilized or the ID Tech 5, I think, or perhaps a 6. There's so many of them for specific games. However, Arcane specifically have hopped between Unreal, the Void engine, which I was surprised to realize, I'll find out, that it was a heavy rewrite of the available ID Tech at the time. I think it might have been 5 and so on and so forth, as no doubt insisted upon ZeniMax at the time. And then they switched to the Cry engine for one of their games. And then I think over a several-year period, updated and reverted back to utilizing their custom Void engine, obviously based on the ID Tech, to bring their latest game to market in the guise of, I think it's Deathloop. So, and because I was searching frantically just to see, like, you know, which game engine is Deathloop using, because I just couldn't find it for the life of me. So I did a bit of digging there. And And obviously, we know that Deathloop's exclusive for the PS5, albeit at a limited time before it's optimized for the Series X, and it hits Game Pass at no additional cost. Anyway, shameless plug out of the way. Then you've got studios like Tango Softworks. They are, by all accounts, more than comfortable with the Unreal Engine, since documentation and coder notes are in Japanese. An issue that I remember that took Epic and several third-party tools and middleware companies a very long time to resolve in order to be successful solution providers, right, to the Japanese and Asian publishing studios. And this is going back like almost 15, 16 years. So, I mean, just looking at Bethesda and the variety of games that they have, and custom engines that they probably already employ at the various studios, it perhaps clearly demonstrates from an outsider looking in that one size does not fit all. And it can be really difficult, in my experience, to adopt and adapt something unique as the ID Tech or id Tech or whatever, however people want to pronounce it. Especially even if it's an internal technology and all the benefits that come with it, you know, with a shared tool set, right, under an umbrella of studios. Therefore, you know, again, in the same sort of stream of thought, there are sort of exceptions to the rule, but I'm trying to push those away from my mind at the moment. But as Kirby was saying, I would say Unreal already exists, right, and is a better bet going forward for a vast majority of studios because it's simple fact it's more supported and well documented option, right, for any developer. Along, I think probably with Unity, they both have huge communities, and I've stated sort of many times before, knowledge and solutions to problems can be just a few keystrokes away, and that in turn, that peace of mind can allow for creativity to flourish, right? More so in any given studio. For me, ID Tech 7 or 8 definitely is a unique selling point for ID Software and the games that they make, right? That's why they're so renowned, right? So the issue sometimes I find, however, with say Epic Tech-based games is that I spot the Unreal Engine a mile off, right? And just from the way that a game looks, the way it's rendered, sometimes the way it turns in terms of how characters animate, and even down to sometimes how the menus work in a specific game. And just as an example, I spent like 50 hours in Obsidian's Outer Worlds just this week. I'm nearly at the end of it. And besides being a fantastic experience, I often felt like I was playing Mass Effect and Bioshock, you know, based on the elements I've just...
Yeah, you did get that kind of feel, especially with the party members. Absolutely.
So look, definitely for me, you know, in terms of all the first-party studios now at Microsoft or Xbox's disposal, incorporating ID Tech 7 or 8, it's just, for me, it's just not necessary, given that there's other options out there, better options, right? And for me, it's really a case of, perhaps I'm just really being selfish here, but I don't condone or prescribe to every game looking and feeling similar. That would be my biggest fear. Also, you can imagine, right, the impact and ramifications it would have on ID Softworks as a studio and how it might hinder or erode the focus on the Doom franchise. And I'm saying this because supporting one off-site internal team is hard enough, but 35 teams, you can just...
Well, I don't think anyone would suggest that you're going to see more than a handful of teams use the tech.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, as good as it is, I mean, there's numerous number of examples out there, right, in terms of the pros and cons of a situation like this. But ID Software with ID Tech is already a huge plus for Xbox, and anyone in the group who wants to make an aggressive first-person shooter action game, as long as the supporting studio and the games that they're creating are not hindered or pressured anyway, I guess is what my point is, right? So for me, it's not the genesis or axis of creation, or at best, it's a questionable truth. But striving to integrate the quality that ID Tech exudes would arguably be, for me, a more profitable or gainful pursuit for each development studio under Xbox, and a better long-term experience for us gamers to look forward to. And you only have to look across to Sony, right, in terms of the studios and offerings being a case in point.
No, I mean you make a lot. You made a lot of great points as always, VJ, for sure. And again, nobody wants everything to be samey. Again, Doom is special because of the violence that comes behind it, but it's Doom, and it really shows off the id Tech at its finest. But it is pretty interesting, at least for me, knowing that particular engine that has been renowned for years and consistently gets upgraded to look better and better each time they do an upgrade to the actual engine is pretty impressive. That is a part of Microsoft. Someone in the chat, quite a few people in the chat said the Orion engine. I mean, the Orion software. Now, I guess that has to do with online. That's also, again, when you buy these companies that normally have been doing things on their own, they bring a lot of bells and whistles with them. And again, this is why this particular purchase is such a big deal for Microsoft. It's a big deal for Bethesda. And I honestly can't wait to see what and who takes advantage of id Tech first. It's going to be very interesting. Real quick, I just want to catch up with a couple of the super chats, and we're going to move on to the breaking news. And here's something interesting. Scrub Nurse, good friend of the show. Scrub Nurse, thank you so much for not only being here, not only supporting Double Barrel Gaming, but dropping a $5 super chat. He says this: does anyone know why Xbox is streaming the Square Enix Presents Spring 2021? Yeah, I could tell you why. Because they bought them. They just haven't announced it yet. That's just my... Listen, folks, look. Here's the thing. I'm no psychic detective by any stretch of the truth, but you only have to follow the breadcrumbs to even make a suggestion like that. Sure. Am I off my rocker? Yes. Could I potentially be 1,000% wrong? 100%. Absolutely, and more than likely. But for the slim chance that Square Enix, who we have heard that wasn't doing so great financially, Microsoft was potentially looking to make a big splash in Japan, all of what I'm saying points to yes. No matter how many times you shake the magic 8-ball, it just keeps saying yes. Did Microsoft buy them? Yes. Did Microsoft buy them? Yes. Again, I don't know. I'm just having some fun with it, but it's interesting. Again, Outriders, day one. Octopath, day one. Final Fantasy VII hints coming, day one. I mean, I don't know, man. And now they're hosting the event. Listen, the old saying is where there's smoke, there's potentially a flame, but we'll see. We had a super chat come in also from a good friend of the show, very generous friend of the show, Michael Kullick, drops a very generous $10 super chat and says, I'd like to see what the Slipspace engine can do over time with Halo before they consider swapping it for id Tech. The first reveal trailer showing the potential of Slipspace really impressed me. I think Slipspace is going to impress all of us. I think I've been saying this for a while. I think we're going to really be treated to something special with Halo Infinite. And after being involved in this tournament for the last couple of weeks, and obviously my team is going to be playing this Saturday at 3 p.m. against Green Pass Gaming to make our way to the finals, I have to say that as great as some of the classic maps and stuff are in Halo, wow, is it dated. I cannot wait to play some next gen Halo Infinite multiplayer. I'm looking forward to seeing what they bring to the table, both for the single player and, of course, the multiplayer. But we have Archimedes here now. Archimedes, welcome. I'm not sure what happened. I think it might have been the time change. What's up, Boxer Bear? How you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm sorry for the delay. Apparently, you guys in the US have already changed the time.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, we in Europe are doing that in 2 weeks, so that was the problem. My apologies. I didn't know.
Okay, dude. You know what? That's my fault as a showrunner. I should have been like, "Hey, Archimedes, last Sunday time change. Does it affect you?" I didn't even think about it.
Yeah. So, and I was still in a meeting at work, so that's why I couldn't get off earlier. But I'm happy to be here on the show now. We have some awesome topics. It's been a fantastic week for Xbox. Some fantastic news. So yeah, can't wait to discuss everything.
Well, you know what? We're gonna grab your ear right away. We were talking about about IdTech being the true exclusive to the Bethesda deal. Wanted to get your opinions on it because we have a couple of people here who understand technology well much better than I do, and of course that's why we invited Kirby Louise today because obviously he is working with Xbox. He's building his own engine, and 3-bit is obviously in the business, and VJ. VJ, I don't want to embarrass you, but I would say he knows everything. So let's. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that the id Tech in itself is like the true exclusive to Bethesda, besides the the incredible IPs and the teams that build them?
That's a really good question. Did Kirby already answer?
No, he did. He did. Yeah,
he did. Oh, okay, so I missed it, and now I hope that I don't say anything that contradicts that. But by the way, first time I'm on a show with him. We have chatted a couple of times, but we have never been on an actual show. So I'm happy to be on a podcast with you, buddy.
Yeah, it's good to be with you too. I was looking forward to this.
One of my videos about the whole Bethesda topics. I mean, it's a exclusive. The whole deal, and people really don't talk about that much with Bethesda. It's not just about a couple of games exclusively to the Xbox ecosystem. It is about a lot more. There is also the technical side where the engine comes in, and I say something about that in a second. But there are also a couple of other things. They have now additional people for marketing, for publishing. There's a lot of knowledge within the whole ZeniMax/Bethesda organization.
Yeah, Archimedes, I don't know if maybe there's something on your end, but you're coming in broken up. So maybe you want to jump out and jump back in?
Yeah, I was hearing that too.
Yeah, I heard him pop out a couple of times. Maybe he doesn't hear us. 3-bit, if you wouldn't mind, just throw him a message real quick. Because I think he might be having some technical issues, and we'll get him back in here to give us his thoughts. But listen, folks, why we get that sorted? Obviously, we have a show to run. We're already past the first hour, and listen, we have almost 500 people here. Of course, I want to say that if you are new, please consider subscribing to Double Barrel Gaming. We do a lot of work here, and I say we, I mean like I have a team. It's literally just one person. It's a one-man show. I do 4 live shows weekly, 2 of which are Xbox, and the other 2 are multi-plats on that bookend the Tuesday and Thursday Xbox shows in, of course, primetime gaming on Monday evenings and Friday mornings. Of course, we have Breakfast with Boom, and this Breakfast with Boom is going to be a big one. Hopefully, you'll tune in. We have 2 big guests that are going to be joining us. Jamie Moran from the UK, obviously you know who he is, as well as Noof Nukem from Gaming After Dark, that show. And obviously, if you don't know who Noof Nukem is, my God. But you know what? Let's get into the breaking news that I have in front of me, folks. And this comes the way of Xbox.com or XboxWire.com, and it's regarding the confirmation of the March 26th event. Now, why this is a big deal is because we heard from Paul Thurrott of Thurrott.com earlier this week, and of course, Jez Corden of Windows Central, who did a follow-up story, both of them agreeing that there's something was happening. But this is a big deal, folks. This is a really big deal because we saw what Sony did. And again, if you enjoyed the show, absolutely, I wouldn't dare challenge you. I say good on you that you enjoyed the show. I gave it a 6 out of 10. I thought it was okay. They did not sell me on one of their big games coming out, their big exclusives in Returnal, which PS, by the way, was just delayed until April 30th. And that's unbelievable because that game was supposed to launch relatively soon. And the other games that they showed, some of them were really good, and some of them were like, oh, okay, I've seen, I'm not that interested. But then we saw Nintendo's a very, very lackluster direct. And I think why I walked away disappointed, even though they showed some Zelda stuff, was the first big Nintendo direct since September of 2019. Like, this was a really supposed to be a big one. And I walked away ho-hum, giving it a 6 out of 10. But now, folks, outside of what Microsoft has been doing, and quite frankly, I mean, can any Xbox gamer not just sit back in complete awe and just marvel at what has been announced in the last couple of weeks? I mean, talk about a way to open up 2021. Now, normally, if obviously we have 500 people here, folks. We're scrounging around as content creators to figure out what the hell we're going to talk about. And it seems every other Monday, Microsoft just gives us doubles and triple and quadruple doses of it. And today is no slouch. Today is a big deal. So this is what it said to open up the conversation. It says here, we at ID at Xbox, the independent and digital games publishing program for Xbox, love indie games. It's in our blood. Technically, it's also kind of in our name. Turns out our friends at Twitch also love indie games. When we found out that, we thought we got to collab. So I'm thrilled to announce that the first Twitch gaming showcase with ID at Xbox is happening on March 26th. And it says here, it says what? We are featuring tons of independent titles, including brand new game announcements from developers and publishers such as Drinkbox, Curve Digital, Devolve Digital, Dear Villagers, and others. During the showcase, we'll debut new trailers and gameplay from more than 25 games, including Stalker 2, Second Extinction, The Ascent, The Wild at Heart, Void Train, XO1, and many more. We'll also be making announcements about independent titles coming to Xbox at Xbox Game Pass. Community favorite Twitch streamers will host the showcase and conduct interviews with the developers, take fan questions, and maybe even drop some game codes. So let's immediately go to let's see. Did we get Archimedes back yet? Let me see if he's back.
Yeah, he's waiting in the lobby. See the
Archimedes is there, brother.
Yeah, I'm back. I'm sorry. What an awful way to start a podcast.
Listen, dude, you're here. That's all that matters. Listen, whether you know it or you got a chance, you were listening in the green room. Now we got you in here. Microsoft on Xbox Wire announced the confirmation of the March 26th event. And for you, and like myself, who appreciates games no matter what their size, they're going to be talking about 25 plus games of the biggest indie titles to come to Xbox and Xbox Game Pass, which includes Stalker 2, something that you've been looking forward to. Second Extinction, something that I have shown on this show many times, and I cannot wait to play. Are you excited to see what they're going to be dropping? And again, Archimedes, this is another bomb drop in a week that could have been packed with nothing, and they just continue to drop. I mean, think about it. We had News Monday, News Tuesday, News Wednesday, and now Thursday we have this. When is enough, but more importantly, are you excited to see what they're going to be doing on Friday, March 26th?
Oh, absolutely. Like you said, Xbox is really on fire lately. We get news drop after news drop. They are not stopping, and that just shows you how much they have to talk about. I mean, it's obvious that they don't fire every bullet they have just willy-nilly in March. Yeah, there is so much more to come over the year, and if they can drop these kind of news basically on a more or less daily basis or weekly basis, it's just awesome.
I think it's cutting out again.
Yeah, he's having a bad time, folks. This has been one heck of a show for sure. Archimedes, brother, I don't know if you hear us. I think you're going to have to reset your equipment because we cannot hear you. Sorry about that, folks. These technical issues do happen, but we're going to keep pressing forward to bring you the best Xbox Factor podcast. Even though we had a couple of technical hiccups, 3-bit. Let's get to you, because you know what, you have. You work in the industry, and you also understand what it is to be considered indie, smaller than it's much easier when you have a big corporation backing you and getting to push your content. But ID at Xbox does something really well. What they do at Microsoft, what they do at that team, is push content that would normally get lost on something like, for instance, the Switch or even PlayStation. They sometimes don't do a good job of showcasing some of the small talent. Well, Microsoft does a really, really good job. Are you excited to see what they bring to the table on March 26th?
I am. And I was actually just watching a documentary, I believe a few days ago, where it featured a lot of different indie developers. It had the developer of Braid, and I can't remember the other one. It was like Super Meat Boy. If you guys have seen that one's pretty good. And they had like the Xbox Arcade back then, and that's when they really back then heavily invested in indie developers. I'm for sure. I'm always for indie development. Kirby I'm pretty sure, indie developer. And the thing is, people always try to I guess like more of the casual crowd tries to downplay indie games, but I think indie games they can be very experimental to something, comparing it to like a AAA budget game where things can feel very strict in certain ways. But I think you can really innovate a lot with indie games for sure. But yeah, this event looks great. Second Extinction just looks like a blast, right? Just like dinosaurs fighting each other, and you.
Who doesn't want to get in the middle of a triceratops fighting a tyrannosaurus with guns? I mean, come on.
Exactly. That game just looks fun to play. Looks like a fun game to play on like community game nights. Then you have Stalker 2, which I'm looking forward to. That game just looks next gen. It really incredible.
Does. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to that and whatever other games are there that I don't know about. And I'm always looking for new games. I like to just try games I normally wouldn't play. I'm trying to experiment a lot right now, open my mind a little bit. But yeah, I love indie games. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, that makes both of us, dude. A lot of the games, I would imagine we're going to see Scorn. Right, that's being made by a small team. The Ascent, I am over the moon excited for that game. There's a lot to get excited about, but again, two of the big ones that I think that I'm glad that they led off with, and actually 3, because they talked about the Ascent being there, was Stalker 2. That was a game we weren't sure when it's coming in. Again, I can't guarantee that it's coming out this year, but I believe that everything that they were talking about in the last event, they said would be releasing in 2021. I hope that we get to get an update on Tunic. I don't know how many people are excited for that. If you're a Zelda purist like I am, the top-down Zelda-esque game for Xbox with a little fox is very adorable, and I actually cannot wait to get into that. That game, being made by one person, PS, by the way, looks incredible. See, again, that's what I think that in itself is the story, right, folks? I mean, sure. Do you want to play a game that's being made by a team of 1,000? We all do, right? That would be considered a AAA banger. But it's these small little games, like the Ascent. 14 people made that game, and that game looks insanely awesome. Tunic, one person is making that game. Bright Memory Infinite. We're gonna get some information on that. That's gonna be there. That's been confirmed by the developer. That was made by a kid that dropped out of high school that wanted to develop. I mean, it's these kinds of stories that gets me super, super stoked to be an Xbox gamer, and even more so an Xbox Game Pass subscriber. But VJ, let's get your opinion on this, brother. We got the confirmation of the event. And this is a big deal. Again, it's just another drop in the hat for Microsoft, but a big deal. And, on top of Microsoft already stealing mind share, and it's something they had a hard time doing in the Xbox One generation, they are just knocking it out of the park with strategically placed news bombs.
Mhm.
And this is another one. What are you expecting from the March 26th event?
My mind sort of drifted off elsewhere. So it was really interesting because we were talking about indie games last night on a podcast and so on and so forth, and how important they are. I mean, looking at publishers, over the years, pulling back on heavy investments into, new IP, right? And especially when they're costing 100 million, 150 million, 50 million, whatever, they're big numbers, right? I mean, it's not small change. Where else will gamers look to, for inspiration? And adventure, I would say, and games that engage your imagination. I mean, you only have to look at Square, right? It's hurting with the Avengers losing $63 million, when it was supposed to turn a profit, and they're scrambling due to poor pre-orders in terms of Outriders, and have had to strike a deal to redeem some of their capital investment. And it's really interesting to see Microsoft. People ask me sometimes, how much does Microsoft possibly pay for these games? And I'm saying, you know what? At one point, it was a seller's market. Going 6 to 12 months further down the line, perhaps even sooner, it's going to be less and less because it's going to become a buyer's market. And I think that is a masterstroke from Microsoft. I don't want to go too off topic, but EA, Activision, Konami, and Capcom are not innovating as they once were. And I'm talking back, from games like Parodius, which was amazing back in the day. Even the cover art was fantastic. Anyway, I think we have to look to first party, and we know content is king, IP is king, no matter how it ends up being deployed in the future, perhaps, via Wi-Fi to a chip in your brain, who knows? But, Microsoft, what do they have? IP, intellectual property, and 35 studios producing content. And I think that's the end game for that's what should be the end game for everybody. So, well, that's capable of doing that, right? And we've already seen, with Google Stadia, right, why they're suffering. And I said at the time, when it came about, I said, look, yeah, it all sounds great, fantastic, but content. And any, 3-year-old can point to that, right? So indie games, for me, is where I look for inspiration now, and perhaps future AAA games, as I said, from first-party studios that are producing them. And we know that Microsoft have got them in abundance. And then you add to that, and when I say, AAA, game productions, and I include indie in that, I'm not referring to budget or profits, right? AAA means very different things to different people, and especially in the games industry. To publishers, it may mean, well, it's a AAA budget, or did that game have a AAA return? And I think that AAA is sometimes banded around, and given out like chocolate bars or sweets, when it's like respect, it has to be earned. And for me, look, just if I'm speculating here completely, Boom, but Hollow Knight, Silk Song, and 12 Minutes have been on my wish list for so long.
Oh yeah, 12 Minutes is another one, dude. I hope that's there, and I would imagine it will be.
Yeah, I've heard you mention it so many times, and I know it's been even on our topic list on various shows, and for one reason or other, we time and the other topics have taken up, so fantastic opinions. We've never quite got to it, but I'm sure we will, not a problem. And Hollow Knight, Silk Song, I'm yearning for. I mean, the former, in terms of Hollow Knight, Silk Song, seems to be out of reach to the initiated and well versed, but I can dream. But to your point, Boom, the last point that you made in terms of what the hell is happening over at Xbox, because this is like, March is, the new month for Christmas for many.
Yeah.
But when it's not even Easter yet, right? So whatever Xbox are planning, one thing is for sure. They are in most cases moving in the right direction, but now seemingly at pace as well. And let's just leave it at that.
No, I mean, and great point. And something, I mean, calling it Christmas is a modest, because Christmas is, everyone runs downstairs, they open up the packages, we play with our toys, we fall asleep, right? That's what we do. But Microsoft, man, it's like a present every day. And we had 4 days. Listen, folks, I'm no mathematician, right? So this is the 4th day of the week, and we've had some news drop. Now, depending on what you consider to be big or not, is entirely entirely, up to you. Like that's going to be your opinion on it. But 4 days in a row of Xbox news, keeping, themselves in the news, keeping themselves in the conversation on these particular podcasts is a big deal. Archimedes, do we have your back, sir?
I do hope so. I I have to apologize. I have restarted my router now. Yeah, I hope it's fixed. So yeah, I hope so.
All right. Well, you know what? Why we have you? I have to catch up some of the super chats, but I do want to get your opinion on this, and finish your point on the 26th of March being confirmed for the ID at Xbox. Again, it's a big deal, and some of the indies, and it's funny because when you say the word indie, there are some people that are going to equate some pixel art kind of a thing, right? Oh, 8-bit pixel indie, ugh, right? But when you say, Stalker 2, when you say the Ascent, when you say 12 Minutes, when you say Second Extinction, and Scorn, and you keep going down the list, indie has really changed what indie means. Are you excited to see what they bring to the table? Because remember, we only got a taste of it. They said 25 plus games.
100%. I'm super excited. I mean, it's no secret that I am a big fan of indie games. It really doesn't matter to me whether a game is developed by a AAA budget and a huge team, or if it's a solo project like Song of Iron or something like that. Yeah, it's good games can be developed by a single person. We have experienced that many times before, and some of those indies that they have already announced, like the Ascent, like Second Extinction, like Hollow Knight, Silksong. I'm with Vijay. This is one of my most anticipated games. I can't wait to play that. Yeah, there's just so much in those games, and especially these smaller teams can afford to take a little bit more creative risks because they don't have to cater to that million gamer audience. Yeah, they can go more into certain niches where they can experiment a little bit more, and that is why I'm super excited to see where these games are heading. I'm surprised by the few titles that they announced that will be on the show, that they consider them indie games.
I know,
as in smaller
yes.
games. Yeah, a Stalker 2 is something that I wouldn't consider to be an indie game per se, but I'm glad to see it. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, Second Extinction looks like a spiritual predecessor to Turok and Dino Crisis, and the Ascent. I've said it many times on Twitter, on in my videos. This is probably a sleeper hit. This looks like a Diablo meets Cyberpunk kind of game, and from all we have seen, it just looks like a ton of fun to play. And so, yeah, I'm super hyped. And I think, and with that, I want to finish and leave the other something else for the other guys to discuss. But the awesome thing, besides that we will see these kind of games, is for me that Microsoft is really giving them their own spotlight.
Yes.
Because some of those indie titles have been highly neglected because they were just overwhelmed by the in those E3 kind of events, when we usually get those 5-minute sizzle reel trailers and you see 20 seconds of like I don't know, 50 indie games, and then after that they show a trailer for the next AAA banger, and after that all the spotlight that the indies should get and deserve is gone. So I remember talking about that on this particular show, I think like a half a year ago or something, where we said that Xbox should do exactly that. Give them their own event, their own spotlight, and then really let the developers talk, show them give them the chance to show some gameplay, give a little room and a little little bit of that excitement that is always surrounding these gaming events to the indies. And I'm really glad that Microsoft is doing that. That also means that they have a lot of other stuff left to announce for the year to come, yeah, which is also exciting, yeah. You can really tell that they want to stay in the news. They don't want to have that one big event where the hype is super high and then after that and before that the hype is gone. They want to have a certain level of hype in the community. You can tell that they roll out each and every week the news, and now they give certain games of a certain size a chance to shine in a dedicated event. I love it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. You know, there's one particular game that I was looking up while you were talking that I just cannot remember. I hope somebody in the chat could help me with this, or somebody on the panel. I'm not sure if it was The Long Night. It was a side-scrolling cyberpunk game that kind of looked like Flashback that's been in development for a while. I got to see if I could somebody pull up in the chat. Let me see if anyone could.
Where's the indie gamer when you need him?
Yeah, no, he would. Well, as a matter of fact, the indie game. Let me give him a shout out because he's a good friend of the show, good friend of this community. He dropped an incredible the Ascent video yesterday, which I watched was fantastic.
Are you talking about the last night, Boom?
The Last Night, yes.
Yeah,
thank you, sir. Thank you so much for that. Yes, The Last Night is a game that I hope we get some clarification on. They've had some troubles with that game. It's a very, very small studio, and I know that I think it was E3 2018 when we saw that on the Xbox stage. So Xbox is involved in that game. I hope that we get some information on that, but along of other ones. You know what, Kirby? Before I get to you, brother, I do got to catch up on some of these super chats. There's been quite a few of them, so let me catch up and I'm going to get your opinion on this, and then we're going to move on to the Starfield topic, which I'm very interested to talk about because thanks to Jeff Grubb, we got some information on that as well as from the head of the studio. The next super chat comes into us from JD Gamer, generous friend of the show. He says this after dropping a $5 super chat: what if Microsoft? Wow, this would be something else. What if Microsoft buys Crytek and then ends up having the Slipspace engine, id Tech, and CryEngine with all the technical expertise of those items and the coalition? It would be domination, is what it would be. That's the only word that comes to mind. Pixel Bit G in the chat drops a very generous $2 super chat and says Xbox new tagline should be #more. I agree with you for sure. Rocker Corey, thanks for being here, brother. He drops an outstanding $2 super chat and says Xbox has too many games should be the new tagline. Indeed, it should be. Sifu Poetic X Initiative drops a very generous $5 super chat. Thanks for being here, Sifu. He says this should be a good show. They've got the messaging right this time. Now throw in a surprise and boom. Yeah, indeed. And maybe we will get that one more at the end. Lord Roughness, good friend of the show, he drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says this: Second Extinction and Stalker 2, sign me up. Xbox are just all over mindshare at the moment. Keep giving us more. Indeed. And JD Gamer drops another $5 super chat. Thank you, JD. Actually, Jack's two more super chats, one for $5. He says, imagine Xbox with Bethesda, WB, Square, all under one roof with the addition of Techland, People Can Fly, and coming to Xbox Game Studio, # the Book of X. Man, if they could, again, the Square thing, I'm going to keep pushing that envelope. It's just, I feel like that they have an announcement coming. And I think that Square Enix, I mean, think about it, folks, not to get off topic, but if you want to make a splash in Japan, if you want to really make a run for the crown, what do you do? Do you start your own studio and you try and get people in, or do you buy a Square Enix? I mean, wow, if that in fact is the case, because that would be the level of a Bethesda for sure. His second super chat of $10. Wow, dude, thank you for that. He says, about Mindshare, I think about how PlayStation tried to strike back this week with the Jade Raymond, but Xbox keeps going. They woke a sleeping bear, and Microsoft not only learned, but they are becoming the masters. Well, yeah, I mean the Jade Raymond story is big because I think she's a force to be reckoned with. I mean, her new studio is again, I'm glad to see that she's back on her feet after the Stadia fiasco. And the fact that she signed with Sony, wow, that's a big sign for sure. Paul Grant in the chat. Hey, Paul, welcome to the show, my brother. He drops an outstanding $10 super chat and says, have a great day. Thanks for the great content, Boom, and panel. Well, dude, thank you so much for that as well. Kirby Louise, I want to specifically get your opinion on this because you would be what the industry would be considered indie. You're building an engine on your own. You're doing things your own way. How big of a deal is this show going to be on the 26th of March for Microsoft? And is this something that they need to do more often to get these smaller games the spotlight that they need?
I definitely think it is a big deal, but it's sorry, I think my mic's a little low. But it's for reasons that you might not expect. Is that because I think the latest state of play and the 50-minute direct, which just going to say, really bummed there wasn't the Switch Pro /2 there.
Yeah,
but that's another story. Because those were letdowns. Now it's kind of like all eyes are on them, and it's just going to. It's kind of like the PC gaming market. Whenever a new GPU comes out, it's like people are like, "What about availability? What about availability? What about availability?" And it's like nothing else matters. Like the product could be great, but if they don't deliver on availability, people are tearing them a new one. And if they don't, and in the same, idea here, if Microsoft can't deliver on a good show, I think people are going to be unhappy for honestly no fault of Microsoft's, but because of the kind of the events leading up to this from Sony and Nintendo were letdowns. So one, I think they have to get this right. And the stakes are very high. Two, what was the other question you asked me again? Sorry.
Well, no, it wasn't so much a question. I mean, is this something that we need to see Microsoft do more often? Because obviously, ID at Xbox is not just a shot in the dark for them. It's a big deal for Microsoft, and I absolutely love this program. I think they should have at least 2 of these per year.
Yeah, I think they definitely should at least keep up what they're doing, if not more, because a lot of ID at Xbox published games are day one Game Pass launches because, as we know, Game Pass boosts engagement and makes developers a lot of money, and indie developers they like that, and it would be a great way to just keep pouring on the Game Pass, train and just keep it going, and just more games than anyone could possibly handle to make the service an even better and better value, and obviously sell them more subscriptions. Let's see what else. And especially now that I think they have a good chance at this, because if they're going to be debuting games like Stalker 2 in it, because I've been a big kind of PC gamer guy for many years now, and to hear that Stalker is coming to consoles, I am extremely excited about.
Yeah,
because that is like that was one of the big games in the PC gaming community for for quite a while.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I guess personally, I'm also excited as a developer in seeing, looking at what some of these games are going to deliver, and things I might want to kind of not rip off or steal, but like clone for my engines, as well as games that I would like to see people like those kind of games be built on Void 2D and Void 3D in the future once I can finish it and release it. Just kind of a brainstorming session almost for a developer like me. And I am sure that I would not be the only one who thinks that way. So it could be this kind of snowballing effect where if Xbox shows off a huge variety of indie games, and other indie developers are watching, that makes them want to, that incentivizes them to develop for Xbox, and then they have more content for a new indie show, and then even more developers will be able to possibly see that and become inspired or desire to develop for Xbox, and the cycle repeats over and over again. Like I said, it's just snowballs, and this could be a very good thing for both Microsoft as well as gamers.
Yeah. If I could jump in on that too.
Sure, absolutely, brother. Jump in.
Completely relate to what he just said. I think indie games in general are just it's like a beacon of inspiration for even AAA games. I know for sure that happens where a AAA game will look at what an indie game does, because in indie games, people have to think about it. You don't have the budget as a AAA game for sure, but what you do have is you have a lot of creativity to try just different things that you wouldn't be able to necessarily do in such a huge game. Indie games are very, I would say experimental in certain ways. Not every indie game even looks indie. I think indie is a interesting term because it can basically vary on different budgets. Like, you could still have an indie game but have like a pretty small team, and maybe their budget is still like $1 million. That would still be considered an indie game. But you can also have like one guy, like with Bright Memory Infinite, right?
Yep.
But I think with this showcase, I'm glad Xbox has sort of a history of supporting these indie studios. It goes back all the way to, like I was saying before, like the Xbox arcade games, where they really was promoting those developers and basically changing their lives. So it'll be really cool to see different games I haven't heard about, and also some ones I am expecting, like Second Extinction, Stalker 2. I would love to see Scorn there. Scorn has been in development for so long, and I know that guy. He's working very hard on the game, so looking forward to it.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah, jump on in there, VJ.
Yeah, I would argue that the fantastic game that's being showcased on the stream right now, Boom and Obsidian, I would argue that is an indie game, because at the end of the day, what is the definition of an indie game? And I think it's to do with when you're beholden, whether it's your own personal savings or our unscrupulous large publisher, that unless you hit milestones, unless you do what they say, your next milestone paycheck may not come through. So if you're beholden to external funding, you are an indie developer regardless of the budget.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Yeah, I actually recorded this footage. This is the 60 FPS mode that was added to the Outer Worlds. It was yesterday or Tuesday, and I got to say the new DLC dropped, which I was under the impression that it was in fact in Game Pass. Turns out that it's not. I had already pre-purchased it when I bought the deluxe edition, so for me it was ready to download. Which you saw the opening of it, but yeah, it is running, as you can see, running so freaking good. It's incredible. Yes.
Just so you're aware, it's probably because you have like a free stream link account, but what you're broadcasting to YouTube is only 60 frames per second, or 30 frames per second. Sorry, only the people in the panel can see the 60 frames per second.
Oh, you know what?
You'll know, because if YouTube's like quality settings, it'll say 60 next to, it'll say 720p or 1080p 60 if it's a 60 FPS broadcast. So just wanted to let you know that.
Well, you know what? Thank you for the clarification, and obviously coming from someone that knows the numbers, I definitely appreciate that. But yeah, I mean, again, if you have, first of all, if you haven't played the Outer Worlds and you are a fan of Bethesda games, my first question is, what the heck are you waiting for? It's in Game Pass. And yes, they did add the 60 FPS mode, which is, like I said, it just makes the game run so much better.
I can confirm I have also started the Outer Worlds again, downloaded the DLC. The DLC is awesome, by the way, and it runs so good, and the image looks so much sharper. And I want to give a huge advice to everyone out there. Go to the graphic settings and turn off the chromatic aberration. It works miracles if you turn that off.
Oh, okay, nice.
The game looks so much. The image looks so much more crisp when you do that. Highly recommend to do that.
Nice. Well, I'll definitely take you up on advice for that for sure. I did send an invite. I saw your 3-bit. I saw that Mav might want to jump in from fun speculation. I sent him the invite. You know, what we'll do is we'll come back to him if he does get in here. Again, this has been one heck of a show for a lot of reasons. Sometimes not the best. We've had some technical issues. We had people drop out. Joe left early. He had to go, do the Square Enix stream. Zemi wasn't here. Obviously, sometimes clusterfucks happen, and hopefully you'll hang around long enough to hear what we have to say. But you know what? Let's start talking some Starfield. Let's keep Bethesda in the conversation if you don't mind. On RDX, and again, who does not watch RDX? I mean, obviously Dealer and those guys over there, they're all friends of mine. I've never met any of them personally other than Colt. I met Colt and his wife at E3 2019. Colt's a good dude, man. That guy, the successes he's having is just... It's well worth. It's really nice to see the good guys win, and Dealer and everybody on that panel is just nothing short of amazing. But this week, if you missed the episode, they had Jeff Grubb from obviously. I mean, who doesn't know Jeff Grubb from the coverage that he did last year during his Hot Game Mess podcast that he would be doing. He's also a part of VentureBeat. Jeff is quality dude. He was on the show, and one of the most biggest nuggets that got picked up by all the trades is when he said that he is 90% sure that Starfield is going to show up at E3 with followed by a gameplay introduction to the title as well as a release date. Now, obviously, Todd Howard is notorious for doing these kinds of moves. Basically, he did it with Fallout 4. We got a video, we got a trailer, we got some gameplay, and we said, and before we can even think otherwise, he gave us a release date, which was 4 months later. But for me personally, Starfield is a very, very big deal for a lot of reasons. We have the suspicion that is going to be an exclusive for Xbox and PC. I know there's been some talk within the community, even favorites of mine. Greg Miller seems to think that it's going to release for both because there might be a contract that we don't know about. I'm with Paris Lilly of the XCast. He believes that it is going to be exclusive, and I think it has to be on a lot of levels. One, it's going to drive engagement towards the Xbox brand. 2, it's going to do gangbuster numbers for Xbox Game Pass. And 3, it is going to be another feather in Phil Spencer's cap for a big title that's releasing in 2021. And again, I believe we get it this fall. I'm not sure if you missed it or you didn't. I personally think that this is what I believe the fall is going to look like for Xbox and the fans. I think September, we get Forza Horizon 5. I think in October, we get Starfield. In November, we get Halo Infinite. Talk about, and again, this is just my opinion. I don't have any inside knowledge to this. It's what I believe is going to happen. So take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt. But could you just imagine what those 90 days would look like? And again, folks, we have to think that on top of those 3 games, we're getting the Ascent, and we're getting Scorn, and Second Extinction, and potentially Stalker 2, and 12 Minutes, and just keep going and going and going. And when you package up 2021, besides being a terrible year once again because of the pandemic, for gamers, my God, it's going to be incredible for sure, no doubt about that. But listen, I want to continue with the story that I pulled regarding the next and folks, this is the first big original IP from Todd Howard in a decade. This is a big deal.
First IP in 25 years.
Oh, you said 25 years. I said a decade. So there you go. Thank you, sir. Um, Bethesda Game Studios managing director Ashley Chang has shared a little bit of information on the development practices behind Starfield and the Elder Scrolls 6. Now, we still don't know much about the games, but we do know that they both fall under a broad open world RPG umbrella Bethesda is known for. Now, during the Bethesda Microsoft briefing, Ashley Chang said the team working on Starfield is uniquely positioned to succeed because the developers themselves have worked together for years, and they've worked on open world RPGs in both the Elder Scrolls and Fallout franchises. So here are a couple of quotes from Ashley Chang, who is heading up what's going on Starfield. She says this: "Today, the team working on Starfield have all worked on several open world RPGs. This is a shared experience and chemistry that doesn't happen overnight. It takes a long time, and it takes a lot of hard work. As we work on our next generation games, I can think of no better place to be than here at Xbox. No matter how crazy the idea, the team at Xbox always just says, yes, let's try it. Xbox has been a great partner, always ready to help solve problems like figuring out how to optimize performance and push the hardware as much as we can." Now, I'm going to go to Boxer Bear first on this. This is exciting news. And the more that they talk about Starfield, Archimedes, I'm starting to have a strong suspicion that this game is releasing. I know some people are going to challenge me on this, but I would beg to differ. I think that we've heard so many of the executives talk about this game even before we knew what was happening with the Bethesda and the exclusivity, thanks to Phil Spencer clarifying that during this event. What are your thoughts on this? Are you excited that we could potentially get Starfield in 2021?
Am I excited? I am beyond excited. Everyone knows how much a fan of Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls series I am. I think Skyrim was is one of the best games ever made, and I don't say that lightly to any game. I have like 6, maybe 7 games that I would consider a 10 out of 10, and Skyrim is definitely one of them.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And I have played like 400 or 500 hours of Skyrim. So, I am excited to see the first new Bethesda Studios IP in 25 years. That is a long time. I am excited to see what it is. I have trust in them. From all we have heard, it's a RPG, a single player experience set in space. What else do you need? That's really something I can't wait, and I think that is exactly what Microsoft needs, because we have heard many times Xbox is just Gears, Forza, and Halo.
Yes.
This is a single player game, a mature game. It carries a lot of weight coming from the Bethesda studios, so that's exactly the kind of exclusive that they need. Since ZeniMax was the publisher, it's hard for me to believe that there is a contract that they have to see through, because they were the publisher. I doubt that they have some sort of contract that prohibits them to release the game only on their ecosystem. And besides that, this will be the first game, if it comes out this year, that is or the first bigger game that is released from the Bethesda studios under the Xbox umbrella. And after the statement from Phil last week, last week, it would be weird to me that the first game that they publish would then be not an exclusive. So I doubt that this is going to be a multi-platform title. We have heard from different leaks and rumors that the game was actually supposed to be a 2020 title. And due to COVID and everything, it got pushed back. it is not unrealistic that it will come out this year. And like you've said, basically every Microsoft executive has mentioned Starfield in some sort of way when they talked about the actual Bethesda acquisition. So that makes me also think that this will be the big one that they announce in the typical Bethesda way. They usually announce their game and then 3, 4, 5, 6 months later the games come out. Fallout 4 was announced this way. Doom Eternal was announced this way. Wolfenstein New Colossus was announced this way. This is just how they do things. Yeah, they wait till close to the launch because they know how big their games are. They don't need that 2-year, 3-year hype train. Yeah, it's enough for them to have a couple of months lead up to the launch. And I think that in that summer event that they have teased, which is probably going, of course, to be around June, where usually we had E3, somewhere in that area we will have that event, and then this will be, like you said, in October, probably an October release. And yeah, it'll be a big win for Microsoft. Like you said, I also think Forza, I don't know whether it will be Forza Horizon or whether it will be Forza Motorsport coming this year, but we will get a Forza game, a Halo game, and then we have that new IP, that single-player experience that has AAA written all over it. And in addition to that, we get another game from Remedy. We know that Crossfire X.
You know, that's
People
another
never
one that
talk
could
about
be,
that.
yeah,
But
dude.
Remedy is making an Xbox exclusive game, a single player campaign for Crossfire X, and this is also coming this year. And I think this will be what our fall will look like. And the indie event now in March is the event that will show us what we will get to play until we have the holiday season. And one of the big ones will definitely be Starfield.
Yeah, you know what's funny? You mentioned Crossfire. I would not be surprised if that's one of the. Could you imagine that show? I mean, just in some of the games that we mentioned. I mean,
one more thing at the end, and one more thing.
Yeah,
here's Crossfire X, and it will come out, I don't know, in May.
Wow.
Or something like that.
It's just, you know, there's a lot to get excited about. Now, listen, folks. Here's the thing. That's a Friday. And you could imagine that Breakfast with Boom is going to continue at its 10 a.m. start time. What I'm going to wind up doing is doing a second show and running concurrent to the 12 o'clock. I believe it's 12. It's 9 a.m. Pacific. I believe it's going to be 12 p.m. Our time here in the East Coast. If that in fact is the case, I'll just run 2 shows that day. I'll run the Breakfast with Boom as a prediction show to what we can expect. I'll get King David to potentially join that along with a few other special guests, and then we're going to then I'll transition over to doing a live show. And now that I've gotten the understanding on how to do the live shows live, thanks to the CEO of StreamYards, which is obviously the service I use, I'm going to run that show live as it's happening, and we'll be doing a prediction show before it and a reactions show after. It's probably going to be about 4 hours worth of podcasting for me. You know, again, if you're a fan, this is what we do. Sometimes you gotta do these long stints, and I'm looking forward to that show. First of all, let me welcome in Mav from Fun Speculation. Mav, welcome to the program, there, dude.
Hey, what's up? I think I made it just in time for the outros, right?
No. Actually, we're still talking about the confirmed March 26th event, which was breaking news today. Again, Microsoft keeping themselves in the conversation. You got a chance to hear what we had to say about it. For you, when you start saying games like Second Extinction and 12 Minutes and Tunic potentially and Scorn and the Ascent and all of these so-called quote unquote indie games being at this event. I mean, we just keep remembering one after another. Archimedes just brought up Crossfire X. Now, Crossfire X, for folks, has not been confirmed, but it'd be a good spot for it because obviously, even though Remedy is not indie, it still would be a good spot to show off this game that we don't know nothing about. How exciting is this news for the indie scene? And do you like the direction that Microsoft is taking of giving them their own look?
Oh, absolutely. And thanks for sending me an invite, Boom. So if I'm looking at this show, it's kind of going along with, hey, Xbox is going to have so much stuff that they have to find new ways to show things,
Yep.
right? And I think this is kind of the start of that, where we're going to see new, interesting ways and showcases, because they can't. There's just too much to have at like a E3.
Right.
You know, you're going to have 20. What you have 23 first party studios now, and several of those working on multiple projects.
Yeah, 35 teams.
Then
Yeah.
you got the Microsoft Publishing division that's getting third-party studios to make exclusive games for them, and also you have just indie games and stuff like that, where they're just deals to be exclusive, right? So there's just so much stuff to show. You need showcases like this to put a spotlight on all the other stuff that isn't going to have time to shine on the bigger stage. So having isolated events like this is a huge deal. Stalker 2 is the one I'm most excited about seeing.
You along with almost everybody on this panel, dude.
Yeah, I cannot wait to see more of that, because
I like him. We need to keep him, Boom.
when I saw it, I mean, just that, like, that little trailer they had before, I was just like, oh my gosh, this
That
looks
does not
amazing.
look like an indie team. That looked
No.
like a triple A. What was the game that was with that was in Russia? That was
Yeah, some of the same devs
Metro?
that are working on
yes, Metro. Yes,
Metro,
Metro
working on
series.
Stalker 2. Yeah.
I got a very, very strong Metro vibe from the
Yeah.
trailer, and man, I mean, they said that was running on the Series X. Could you imagine what this game is going to be and what it's going to look like? And again, folks, we cannot deny that every one of these games, let me just, Mav, I'm going to give you the floor back in a second, but
Yeah, no problem.
every one of these 25 plus games are going to be dropping into Game Pass. That is insanely awesome.
Yeah, 100%. And the Ascent as well. The crazy thing is, our older games are looking and playing amazingly well. I heard y'all talking about Outer Worlds, which just got the update as well.
Yep.
These newer games, like, we haven't even broken the surface of what's to come on Xbox over the next 10 years, right? This is just the tip of the iceberg, and this smaller event that is not, I guess it's not really that small if you have this amount of games, right? It seems like we're going to see a lot of cool stuff. It's just the beginning, right? So then we're going to have whatever they're doing around E3, the stuff that they were talking about with Pete Hines at the Xbox roundtable thing they had with Bethesda. They talked about doing a summer show then. And then I think we're still going to continue to see stuff, and I heard y'all saying when I was driving just a minute ago about, the outlook for potentially this fall, with having Halo Infinite for sure,
Right.
but also probably Starfield. And then I'm with you. I think Forza Horizon 5 is coming out this year as well. I think Forza Motorsport is going to be a next-gen only thing. That's going to be maybe next year or the year after, and that's going to restart the whole cycle again. But as far as this year, I think we're going to get a Forza Horizon 5, and even without that, you still got all of these other exclusive games that are coming this year that are not even published by Microsoft. It's just a crazy time, and I can't wait to see a more in-depth look at all of those.
It's when you sit back in your chair, right, and you try to put your thoughts onto paper about what is coming out in 2021. That is going to only be on Xbox and PC. The list is staggeringly large. And what is interesting about this particular event is they only mentioned just 3 titles, but they talked about other developers. Like, the fact that Devolver Digital is going to have something there is a big deal. They're an incredible publisher / developer, right? And we know that we have confirmation. We're going to finally get the chance to play and see what Bright Memory Infinite, the not the small taste that we got at launch, but the actual official game. Along with everything else, it's pretty stunning to know that this many titles are coming out in 2021 in a year that has already been ravaged with delays. And if all of these games and to be fair, a lot of these games were supposed to release last year and they didn't, and they're all converging on 2021. And again, this we don't do console war shenanigans here, but we have to mention it. Sony finds themselves in a very peculiar position. Now, Nintendo is doing their own thing. They're making money left and right. Who knows what they have coming out, right? People are going to buy old games. I do it all the time. Yes, I'm a part of the problem. But Sony is in a position where they live and die with the first-party game. And for good reason. They make the best in the business. There's just no denying it. But like Returnal just got hit with a delay to April 30th, right? I've already said publicly that I was ultra excited for a new Housemarque game, but Returnal for me is not worth $77.03. I'm not going to spend nearly $80 for that game on a new IP. I'm just not going to do that. It's money is tight for everybody. Now we know Ratchet and Clank is coming. We have a confirmed release date for that. Everyone is going to buy that. I'll drop the money because I love Ratchet and Clank. But what we don't know, and it's pretty much safe to say that God of War isn't coming out this year. It's just not, because we're all hoping that Horizon the Forbidden West is going to hit us in the fall potentially. And I have a feeling, only because the mocap industry was hurt so bad last year, that this is a game that may not be done. It just may not be done in time because of what Sony does with their mocap. They're the leaders in that field, and they always do great jobs. But it's possible. So if you turn around and let's just say, for argument's sake, we pull Horizon the Forbidden West, and their top games this year for Sony are Returnal and Ratchet and Clank, both good games on their own right. I don't doubt they're going to be bangers. But when you look at what Microsoft is doing, it is a staggering difference with indie to AAA bangers, Halo leading the charge. It is going to be an incredible year for Xbox. I would dare say it might be the best year for Xbox in regards to exclusive titles in a generation. I don't even know how. Again, we don't have confirmed dates on anything, but just based on the thought and the theory that we have going on for this particular podcast, it is very, very exciting for Xbox fans. And more importantly, in a year where people are really having a hard time putting food on the table and paying rents, you can afford to. Again, I don't know people's finances, but it's certainly much more attainable for $15 a month as opposed to buying these games individually, when you can if you want. But if you don't want to and you want to take advantage of Xbox Game Pass, you can do that. And every one of these games that we talked about for the last hour of this particular topic are going to be in Game Pass. Folks, it is a big, big year for Xbox. Let me catch up some of these super chats and we'll get some outros out here. Paul AFC drops an additional $5 super chat. Paul, thanks so much for supporting Double Barrel Gaming. He says this: with Sony looking for more revenue, do you think they may one day drop some bangers on Xbox? I can't say no for sure. But Jim Ryan is very protective over the IPs. It's probably why we'll never see Xbox Game Pass go to PlayStation. I think that what you're going to see is they're eventually going to have to pivot over there. And they're going to have to try and replicate what Xbox Game Pass is doing with their 20 plus million. And I think that after this Bethesda deal was confirmed on what's exclusive and what's not, I think they could even potentially be at 25 million at this point. And again, it's just a shot in the dark, but I think you're going to see big numbers. I think Sony's going to have to pivot, and combined PlayStation Plus and and PS Now, move them together, charge one fee per year or per month, and then offer day and date games. Is that happening in 2021? No. Do I think it happens next year? Yes, I do. I think they're going to have to pivot to compete. That's just my opinion. We have Brand Onyx Real Life Situation drops a very generous $5 super chat and says millions of people still can't get their hands on the new Xbox. You all do the show like we all have new Xbox. Me and my family still can get one. Hey, listen, dude, we do the show for the Xbox fans and for anyone that just wants to listen to good content. I'm sorry that you don't have an Xbox yet. I'm certainly wish that I could mail one to you from me and Mrs. Boomstick. Unfortunately, I don't have the power to do that, but you probably still have an Xbox One X, which will play most of these games. Now, sure, do you want a Series X? Yeah, I know you do, but we don't talk down to people. I'm not sure if that's what you were implying, but I mean, you can still play Xbox. You can play it on your PC, your phone, your tablet, or your old Xbox. Most of these games, including Halo Infinite, which has been confirmed. So again, sorry that you don't have an Xbox. Hopefully they will rectify that and you'll be able to get one. Andre De Leon, hey dude, thanks so much for being here, Andre. He drops an outstanding $5 super chat and says, love your shows, Boom. Always get great panel members. God bless you and your family, brother. Hit the like button, folks. Well, dude, that's very kind of you to say. God bless you and your family as well. And thank you for the ultra awesome support. Listen, folks, I had a few more topics. Obviously, we kind of hit a bit of a snag mid-show. We had a couple of panel members drop out at the last minute. Couple of panel members jump in at the last minute, and of course, I think we had a good show. Maybe not one of the best shows of the week for sure, but certainly one that I want to thank the 500 people that were here. We had 500 people. That's a big deal. That's a big deal for a small channel. Viper XT drops a very generous $5 super chat. Hey, Viper, thanks for being here, dude. He says, late to the show, but damn, 100 games to be shown on the 26th is just crazy. It's good time to be an Xbox gamer, indeed. I believe, I don't know, did they say 100 or did they say 25 plus games? All I know is that some of the games they're going to show Viper are dope, and I cannot wait. But let's get to the outros. We're going to start with our guest. Mav, listen, what you guys are doing, and I should say guys and gals because your wife is a part of it, and I think that is so freaking cool, dude. Like, that is awesome. What you guys and gals are doing over at the Ultimate Xbox podcast is fantastic. What you're doing on the Fun Pop podcast on Sundays is even better because you cover a lot of the Marvel stuff that's going on. We just had the Justice League, Zack Snyder's Justice League drop today. I'm going to watch that tonight with Mrs. Boom. You got Falcon and the Winter Soldier coming in on Friday, and you guys talk about that. Tell everyone about these two particular shows and where could people reach out to you on social media.
Yeah, again, Boom, thanks for letting me hop in last minute here. Sorry, I was preoccupied earlier, but dude, love to talk about all these games. And holy crap, I just, real quick, I just read that ID at Xbox / Twitch Gaming and more than 100 games from independent developers.
There you go. So he was right.
All over
Viper
the world.
XT. Yeah. So there you go, Viper. Thank you for the hot info. See, breaking news, dude. I have 3 screens open, so I and that's not one of the ones for news.
Yeah, it's just, like I think indie games are. This is like an indie game showcase. It's gonna be a lot of fun. But yes, you can check out Xbox Ultimate Friday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern, where we have my wife Caitlin. We also have 3-Bit. You know him very well, everybody. Pong Soul, you guys know him very well as well. We got Psychonauts. And hopefully making a return very soon is Assassin Lupa.
Yeah, I saw her jump on social media for the first time in a while. It's good to see her back.
Yes. So that has me very, very excited. So we're looking forward to bringing you that show every Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern. And it covers all things Xbox. But also, as you mentioned, we have another podcast that we started up, me, 3-Bit, and Psychonauts. Did I mention Psychonauts is on the Xbox?
Yes,
Ultimate?
yes, you did.
Okay,
yep.
So also me, 3-Bit, and Psychonauts is on Fun Pop, and we just moved the day, Boom. So it was Sundays, but because of scheduling issues, we're moving that to a late Thursday night show.
Oh, nice, dude. Excellent.
So tonight, we are going to be all Snyder Cut Justice League talk
Nice.
tonight at is that 10:30? I believe,
like
10:30. And we're gonna have a blast talking about that. So everybody, please join in if you can. If not, that's fine. But check it out at the Fun Speculation YouTube channel. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Fun Speculation.
Well, thanks so much for being here, jumping in, even if it was for a few minutes. Definitely appreciate that. Next up, Kirby Louise, brother. Thank you so much for coming in, hanging out with us, giving us your technical knowledge about the id Tech being the big exclusive on top of everything what they did with Bethesda. Tell everyone about where they can reach out to you on social media, strike up a conversation, and what do you got going on, brother?
Well, first, thanks for having me on, Boom. Sometimes it can get kind of lonely with what I do, but yeah, I can be found at Twitter at Kirby0Luis, or you can find me at github.com/Kirby0Luis for my programming and development related stuff. I always keep open DMs, so feel free to send me a message about anything pretty much, and I'll try to get back to you when I'm not at my part-time job on the weekend. But yeah, it was great coming on here discussing tech with people, talking about the potential. I am super excited for the future of Xbox and PC gaming with this, possibly id and 343 and the Coalition stuff working together, and all the new upcoming technologies from AMD, NVIDIA, and Intel. Yeah, I guess that's all I have to say.
Well, thanks so much for being here, brother. Definitely appreciate the technical knowledge you brought with you. I know definitely got to get you back on the show for sure. Next up, 3-Bit. Obviously, tonight you're going to be doing some talk about Zack Snyder's the Justice League. And obviously, we're hearing some early reviews. It's amazing. And that doesn't surprise me because, quite frankly, Zack Snyder is a visionary. I hope that this is not the last thing we see from him on HBO Max. I hope that they do. I'm going to be hashtagging the Zack Snyder verse should continue. I think that's a hashtag that's going to be gaining some ground because I'd love to see him take on the Batman, and maybe we can get Deathstroke for Batman versus Deathstroke on HBO Max because what they're doing over in the WB in regards to DC. Not so good. So hopefully they will continue with it. But tell everyone about your channel. Where could people reach out to you and strike up a conversation? And what other shows are you on, dude?
Yeah, there's a lot going on right now. Today, of course, we're on the Xbox Factor every Thursday. I think we're talking with Steve Downs in an hour or so.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Dude, 3-Bit. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Forgot about that.
Steve Downs, the voice of Master Chief. It's going to be amazing talking to him. That dude's my hero. So that will be in an hour with Four Guys with Quarters, another show Mav is on. Fun Pop is later tonight. I've already seen the Snyder Cut. Wow. Good stuff. I'll just say that. You guys can follow me on Twitter. It's the VGHD. My YouTube channel is the Video Games HD. I just made a pretty funny video animating a CGI Phil.
Yeah, it was funny, dude. That's good stuff. Yeah.
And that was just for fun. But I have some more coming up in the future for sure. So you guys can follow me on there. So thanks so much to the panel. You guys are awesome. And the chat. Thank you guys.
Well, thank you for being here, brother, and definitely love having you on each and every Thursday show of the Xbox Factor podcast. And last and no way least, the one individual that I believe brings a tremendous amount of worth to this show each and every week that he's here. VJ, what do you got going on, brother? And where could people reach out to you and strike up a conversation?
I just wanted to just quickly speculate on Starfield if I could. I'll be really short.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
Because I'm really looking forward to it. Since Mass Effect, I thought that this game.
I didn't ask you about Starfield. Did I skip over?
No, we skipped the topic at the end.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to say I was doing a little research, and the 25th of April is Todd Howard's 50th birthday. So perhaps something is or was planned and to occur in and around this date. And just as Indiana Jones, was revealed on Phil's birthday on January the 12th, I'm just being a little humorous here. Perhaps it's a running theme falling into place right before our eyes, with Xbox and Bethesda's executive management birth dates being the driver to showcase reveals. And
I love that theory.
But anyway, it'll be frightfully novel and propitious. So anyway, you can find me here on Thursdays, Stubbs Midweek Gaming on Wednesdays. And I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Removable Sanity and Everborn Saga. For some reason, I've been coming across them quite frequently over the last 10 days or so. And boom, they've been absolutely fantastic, podcasters. And direct, honest, well-rounded, no holds barred opinions. Come what may. Excellent stuff. And thanks for having me on the show as always, Boom.
Oh, thank you for being here, brother. Definitely appreciate you being a part of this show each and every week. But listen, folks, again, if you're new to Double Barrel Gaming, you enjoyed the banter. This may not have been the best show to show off the talent that we all have. Again, we had some hiccup issues. We had people drop out at the last minute.
Apologies.
No, stop it, dude. Listen, technical crap happens all the time. Listen, if it can happen in a multimedia billion-dollar company, it can happen on a little mom and pop or mom and grop shop kind of a podcast. So obviously, you can tell I'm a fan of Greg Miller. But listen, if you're new, give us a second chance, or go check out some of the shows we did earlier. This week for Double Barrel Gaming is packed. We had breaking news segments left and right. This is the fourth show that I did live for over 2 hours. I'm doing another 2-hour stream tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time called Breakfast at Boom. That show airs on Fridays, every Friday. We have a lot of great topics. We're going to be talking about PlayStation VR, what they just announced today. We're going to be talking about Jade Raymond and what she did for with her new studio and how she signed on. And more importantly, we're going to be talking about, I think, is Phil Spencer. There was a story that dropped about Phil and how his ideology and dedication to third-party exclusives has changed. And folks, I think we're going to start seeing some big bombs for third-party exclusives, not only showing up in Game Pass day and date, but being exclusive to the Xbox. I have a whole story that we're going to be breaking down to open up the show. Hopefully you guys and gals will tune in tomorrow, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But again, folks, this has been a great show. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you're here, before you get on out of here, I plead with you, please hit that like button. You don't understand. For small channels like mine, it is a big, 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 big deal. It gets me into the unknown region known as, of course, the algorithm of YouTube. And you know what? The little guys got to eat too. And if you like the quality and you want to help push this channel to get to 10K, because we're close, folks. We're close. I can do that with your help. But listen, I'm going to close out the show with something that's important to me. Hopefully, one day it'll be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us very often when we were young. And he said this: son, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of the Xbox Factor Podcast. Bye.